by my cell phone, which, by the way, I just turned off. So please do likewise. The time will fly much faster. Good evening and welcome to our 2014 Candidates Night. It's sponsored this year by Seroptimus International in Mount Adams and the Mount Adams Chamber of Commerce. My name is Kim Larson, and I'm currently serving as co-president along with Jan Callow, if you want to stand up, Jan, of our local Seroptimus Club. We serve communities in the west end of Klickitat County and parts of Skamania County. Seroptimus is part of a global volunteer organization working to improve the lives of women and girls through programs leading to social and economic empowerment. By initiating club projects that benefit women and girls, and by honoring women who help women and girls, Seroptimus clubs and members improve the status of women and girls. Our projects and programs, we aid women economically, and we empower them to make positive changes in their lives, and most importantly, in their communities. In addition to participating in programs offered by our parent organization, clubs work on local projects based on the needs of their communities. And that's, for us, is how Candidates Night came about. Many years ago, Seroptimus saw a need in our community to provide a public forum to hear from candidates seeking election to public offices. And this year's event is being co-sponsored with the Mount Adams Chamber of Commerce, and we are pleased to have them working with us. And before I turn the mic over to Maria from the Chamber, I would like to thank Kathleen Butcher. Let's all give her a big who has served as our volunteer again to serve as a moderator, and she is a moderator. Who's in charge? Kathleen's in charge. I'm the hammer in the back telling you
people at my house.
Yeah. So, and we really appreciate your commitment to the electoral process. And I'd like to thank Robert Weisfeld, who is the county representative, and opening up the room for us and making sure we did that, and Timona Miller, who came and opened the doors after they were locked. So we thank her too. So, without further ado, here's Maria. She's going to give a brief intro, very brief, about what the Commerce does. And thanks again for everybody attending. Really appreciate it.
I'm also a Seroptimist, but tonight I'm wearing my hat for the Chamber of Commerce for Mount Adams. So we serve all of Klickitat County and eastern Skamania County, but we also have membership on both sides of the river throughout the gorge. The mission for the Chamber of Commerce is to help our businesses, our nonprofits, educational opportunities, and political forums such as this in order to help our community grow and prosper. So when you are around town and you see the little logo in the window that says Mount Adams Chamber member, do business with them. They are looking to help support not just themselves, but other businesses and the educational community. They are looking to make sure that we are using one voice to help market our tourisms and other new residents to our area. And together we like to partner with our cities and make sure that everyone is working together to make our area the best it can be. So thank you very much for being here, and I'll turn it over to Kathleen.
Like I said, tonight we're working without a microphone, so I really like people to keep conversations to zero, unless it's to and from candidates. I'm going to give you a little, kind of an agenda for tonight. We'll start by please stand, and we'll do the salute to the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Besides the cell phones that got turned off, these two doors are both open, and if you need restrooms, you can use either of those doors to go to the restrooms in the hallway here. We're going to start first with federal and state candidates. They'll have an opportunity to present to you. Not all of them have opponents that are here tonight. A couple of statements will be read, and then we will go to the Klickitat County candidates. Unopposed candidates first. nonpartisan offices after that, and then contested races. On the questions to candidates, there's a table back here with cards where you can write a question. Make sure you put your name and your residence on the question. I would encourage people who are spouses, campaign workers, or who have done multiple letters to the editor to give other folks a chance. If you have something that you want to put in as a question, bring it up and drop it on the end of the table here, or give it to Kim or Jan in the back of the room and they'll bring it up. When we ask questions from either the audience, I'll call from the audience as well, mostly, I would think. You do need to state your name and where you live. You ask a question. We don't really need to hear statements or opinions at this stage. We want a question to an office. Questions do not go to an individual. They go to the office about the office for which the candidate is running. Candidates are going to be allowed about 1.5 minutes for an answer, a 30-second rebuttal from that. We have Maria. Wave your sign, Maria.
Oh, here it comes.
She's got a timer and a stop sign. And we've been pretty effective with that. So if you can't hear, raise your hand or speak up and we'll try and get that controlled. There are still some places right up here in front if you have some problems hearing. But with that, I'd like to get started tonight. To begin with, the federal candidates, I got another cheat sheet right here. Neither of our congressional candidates can be here tonight, but we have two people that will speak on behalf of them. Rosemary or Dorothy? And Rosemary, and you can stand right here. Rosemary Hoyt is going to speak to you on behalf of Bob Dingenthal.
Good evening. I'm here speaking for Bob Dingenthal. Bob's enjoyed being here for events like the Spring Fest and Huckleberry Festivals, but could not be here today due to another engagement. Southwest Washington needs a representative who has done more to create jobs than just run job fairs. We need a representative who has nuts and bolts understanding of how businesses work. That only comes from running a business and understanding that a healthy economy is built from the middle class out, not from the top down. Bob is a middle class success story. He grew up in an Ohio Union family with his mom and dad packed into a tiny home with 7 kids and his grandma, and worked his way up from the bottom to lead high-tech startup companies, establish a successful family vineyard and winery, and create hundreds of good-paying middle-class jobs. Bob is concerned about the state of education in America and in Washington, and thinks it's time we stop teaching the test and get back to teaching our students. As your representative, Bob will always remember it's his job to represent you. He'll make a point of listening to your concerns, work to make health care better and more affordable, eliminate tax breaks that are only available to the super wealthy, and work to rebuild our economy from the middle class out. I invite you to learn more about Bob by visiting his website at votebob.com. Thank you.
Thanks, Rosemary. Dave Coucher will speak on behalf of Jamie Herrera Butler.
Good evening, and thank you very much for everybody for being here, especially Swapinist and Mount Adams Chamber for putting this on. And Jamie starts out, I want to thank you for this opportunity to address you. I'm sorry my schedule would not allow me to be with you at this event tonight, but I look forward to seeing you again soon. From day one, when I took my oath as a member of Congress, serving our region and the folks who live here has remained my vision. I've listened to you, and I've stood up to both political parties, including my own, when necessary, to put the needs of families and communities back home in Washington first. Bringing jobs back to this region has been and always will be priority one. To many of our friends, neighbors, loved ones are out of work. That's why I've worked with Republicans and Democrats on solutions that will empower job creators and protect manufacturing jobs. The bipartisan Forest Roads Bill was introduced by myself and passed into law this year and will protect 107,000 forest product and manufacturing jobs throughout the state of Washington alone. I won't stop fighting for jobs both back in D.C. and here at home until our economy is back on track. Protecting Southwest Washington residents also means making sure your tax dollars are spent efficiently and saving money wherever possible. Our national debt is killing jobs now, and it threatens future generations. I've hunted down inefficiency and fought to remove waste from every corner of federal government. We've made some progress. For the first time since the Korean War, Congress has actually reduced discretionary spending 3 years in a row. You have my pledge to keep watching your tax dollars like a hawk. This year's wildfire season has been bad, endangering communities, destroying hundreds of thousands of acres of forest, and costing millions of dollars to contain the destructive flames. More critically, these fires signal that we need better management of our national forests, both here in Skamania and Klickitat County and across Southwest Washington. It's time to actively manage forests like the Gifford Pinchot so that they're healthy and fire resilient, rather than diseased tinderboxes prone to disastrous fires. As a result, we'll increase economic activity by increasing responsible harvest of timber. Until increased harvests restore local revenue, you have my word that I'll continue to champion federal funds for rural schools and roads, just as I've been doing all along. You also have my pledge to make sure we take care of our nation's heroes, our veterans. Whether that's continuing to fix the problems within the VA that have created month-long wait times, or bringing care to those in rural areas, we must keep our promises. No one will work harder for our region than I will. It's an honor to serve you in Congress, and I ask for your vote. Jamie Ferrero-Bauer.
Next, we have two candidates for state representative. They are from different positions. Their opponents are not here tonight, but I will ask Gina and Michael Scott from back to come up, and you can either speak to the table or wherever you like. And I have Michael Scott going first.
I get to kick it off tonight. Hi, my name is Michael Scott Brumback. If you want to call me Scott, that's fine, because that's what I've gone by my whole life. I just happen to go by my middle name. A little bit about me. I'm 53 years old. I'm married. I have 3 kids. One's in college, and then I have a 10 and 6-year-old. I'm a business owner. I have a law firm in Yakima. 12 employees. We do the health care, retirement, and taxes, and the whole deal of running a business. I've been in the military for 28 years. I'm still in the Army Reserve. I'm a major in the Army Reserve currently. First 10 years I was active duty. I was enlisted, rose to the rank of Staff Sergeant, and I was a tank commander. That's what I did for the first 10 years. After that, I went over to the JAG Corps, and I have been doing that since 1997, basically. A couple of reasons I'm running. First is fiscal responsibility. I think it's important that our state government get its fiscal house in order. The state government has about between an $80 and $90 billion debt. That's a big issue for me. Debt is a killer for jobs, and it kind of forces taxes to go up. And taxes are very hard on working people, as you know. Speaking about taxes, there's a 11-cent per gallon gas tax that is going to probably be voted on after this election. I'm squarely against that. I think that's harmful to working families to have the gas tax go up. Pensions. Pensions in the state of Washington are funded at different levels if you look at different sources. The state of Washington says that pensions are funded at about 93%, but that uses a presumed rate of return of about 7.8%. If you're in the business world, the presumed rate of return is about 3.3%, which would mean that pensions in the state of Washington are funded at about 49%. That's a big deal, because as you know, we have a demographic shift going on in this state, and a lot of folks are going to be retiring, and they're going to put a big load on those pensions that they were promised. So I think pensions are a big issue that have to be dealt with. And in the context of that, then you've got the McCleary decision. You've all probably heard about that. Funding for schooling. So you almost have a perfect storm in a lot of ways. There's pressure from the Supreme Court to raise taxes for school funding. Pensions are an issue. The federal government has an $18 trillion debt and funds about 28% of Washington's revenues. Are they going to be able to continue that with such a high debt at the federal level? I don't think so, not for the long term. So we have to be very fiscally responsible in the state of Washington. And that's what I think I bring, as opposed to my opponent who's been in government his whole life. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there are many great government servants, and it's not a criticism in that regard. But I think you need somebody that has business experience, and Gina, I think she'll tell you about that. And I'm very excited that Skamania and Klickitat and part of Clark will have a representative. I think that's good. We've got a position 1 and 2, and I think it's very important for the long run too to have somebody that's representing from this area. So I thank you for your time, and would love to talk to you.
Gina McCabe.
Hi, I'm going to stay back here because I promise I'll go over my time if I can't see you. My name is Gina McCabe. I'm born and raised in this whole area, and this is my home. I'm running for state representative, position 2 in the House of Representatives in Olympia, and I hope to be your next representative. It's a big district. If you're not familiar with the district, it runs all the way, like Scott said, from Clark County all the way up to the very corner of Yakima. So as you can guess, we both put a lot of miles in our car, spent a lot of time in the car, which I think is my new office. I decided that's the new vehicle of choice. I'm your local girl, and I'm family strong, I'm business strong, and education strong, and that's what I'm coming in with. It's been many, many years, many of you know, since this side of the district has been represented. And so I'm very excited about being able to do that for you. Family strong, I'm very thankful for my family. Without my family in this campaign, I could not have done what we've done so far. My dad drives me, my mom drives me. We just came back from a meeting in Seattle. Mom drove so I could do a speech and sleep, and so we were in Yakima yesterday. It's a crazy, crazy schedule. So I'm very appreciative of my family. I was very blessed. So I thought when you grew up, everybody sat at the kitchen table and you discussed your day, and my brother and sister all talked about life. And what I'm finding is, especially in Yakima, that that's not the case. There's many parents who can't afford to be parents because both parents are working, trying to make ends meet. And it's really sad. And so I think we need to find ways to strengthen that. Safety is another big thing. Safety is if we don't feel safe in our district and in our homes, then what else do we have? It's amazing to me that we can have our military secure borders in other countries, but ours isn't secure. So I think we really need to look at that. I'm really concerned with that. Business-wise, I've ran businesses, small businesses, for over 25 years. If you're familiar with Goldendale et al., Highway 97, my family developed out that corner, so where McDonald's is. So the hotel right there, Quality Inn and Suites, is my office. And then we also have the Chevron station, Papa John's. And so I'm accessible. So stop in my office when I'm not in session. I'd be glad to hear what your concerns are. And it's 24 hours. We have a 24-hour desk, so if you're a night person like me, you're in shape. I know what it takes to give a paycheck out. So I know how important it is to families to work for their self-esteem. I know what it takes and how great it feels when you hand a housekeeper, for example, a paycheck and she goes home and feeds her family with that. You know, small business is the backbone of our communities, and without them, we're in trouble. You know, to sit here and wait for that large corporation to move into the area is a mistake, I think. You know, we need to help the businesses that made it through these really tough times and give them incentives and to cut taxes for them so they can stay in business, cut regulations, because as small business owners, we know how to run our own company. We don't need the government to step in and to run it for us and then charge us to do that, because we're not able to stay in business like that. And that's why you have many storefronts empty. So I'm concerned about that, and we need jobs. You know, jobs are key. It develops self-esteem, we can take care of ourselves. Nobody, I think, wants to be dependent on the government. You know, we need to be able to take care of ourselves, and there needs to be legislation to help fight do that. The other thing is education. You know, without higher education or without educating our children, that's our future leaders. You know, I'm a mom, I'm a grandma, I'm a wife. I have 3 beautiful granddaughters. I'll show you pictures after I got my phone. And I don't want to leave them a mess, and I'm concerned about that. You know, it's important that we take care of the next generation, and you have to have education. I've met with, see, I knew it. I met with Heritage University and Dr. Bassett up there and a team, and they're considering putting a branch campus down here in the gorge, White Salmon Bingen area in here, and so that we have a 4-year degree, so when these big companies come in, or bigger companies come in, they don't bring their own workforce, that we have it for them. Also, Central Washington University is involved in trying to get into some of those discussions. So we're trying to improve this area and have those jobs come from here than someone else. Lastly, I've toured, really? I have a binder. I'm asking for your ideas and your help, and that binder will go with me to Olympia too, and to call you if there's legislation that I don't understand, because I'm very teachable. Thank you so much for coming.
And also, her opponent, Paul George, is not here tonight, but he has a letter, and it's taped to the table back behind the gentleman. There's a Republican and a Democrat table, like the guy that's waving at everybody. So there's information back there regarding her opponent, if you're interested. I'd like to take a couple of questions, since their opponents aren't here. Is there anybody that would like to ask a question of state government? Make sure that it's a question for the position, not the individual, and not an opinion.
It's state government. I want to know what your position is.
Your name and where you reside,
My
please.
name is Gabrielle Gilbert, and I reside in Fruit Valley, I guess is what they would call it. And I'm a minimum wage worker. And,
We don't need to know that. Stop the question.
Oh, the question is, where are you in supporting a minimum wage and making that a $10.10 or $15, a livable minimum wage? And understand that it is based on businesses that basically hire part-time.
Let's let him answer the minimum wage.
Well, you have to understand the context. If you're supporting a business, but business hires only part-time to avoid having to pay insurance and having to pay your retirement and having to pay all of those issues, and you're just a part-time worker, and that's what you're living on. Then you have
That's
to
really
look
an
at-
opinion.
Well,
And
then
let's
where
let
are
him
you
speak
with
to the issue of minimum
issue of
wage
minimum
and
wage?
see
Where
what
are you?
information they can share with us. Go ahead.
It's a very important question. I mean, I run a business, I have 12 employees, all right? If the minimum wage is too high, then I'm not gonna hire more. But I'm gonna get to it, hold on. I also hire disadvantaged youths in the summer, all right? Kids that are in high school. Are they gonna get $15 an hour? Are they gonna get $15 an hour? No, they're not. I believe in the market, all right? I do believe in the market. I think a reasonable minimum wage, but you're gonna price people out of work.
I doubt that.
That's my opinion as a guy that's run a business for 15 years.
But it makes me have money to
Ma'am,
go to
I'd
work
really
business.
like to not be conversational. Let the candidates give you a chance to give you their views.
It's a valid issue, and I'm not just trying to slam it. I really would like to answer it from a perspective. I've been one that worked minimum wage myself, many years. I mean, I consider myself a working class guy. That's where I came from. But I think that what happens is that people that are in that sector actually find fewer jobs to select from when you raise the minimum wage so high. I know, I've got a small business, I got a bottom line. If I can't afford it, I'm gonna hire fewer people. You know, every one of my employees has health care. Every one of them has a retirement plan. They didn't have that when I first came in. I insisted on it. But I can't do that if we're gonna spend money, because then everybody's at 15. How about somebody that really isn't worth $15 an hour? And then somebody who's above that, I've got to pay the minimum one. Somebody who's not really worth 15, and the one that's worth 20, I got to bring them down. And so they're about the same, even though they don't have equal skills or experience. Government can't correct the market. If it does, it's going to send it like this. That's my
Then
opinion.
you bring people that
Okay.
come
Just
Would
my-
you like to speak to the issue?
I think what you need to understand as a business owner is we would love to pay all of our employees $50 or $100 an hour, but it's business.
You know I'm not asking that.
I know, but I'm saying, I mean, understand that it's, I mean, I'm sure I can speak for many business owners, and that is the fact that we would love to pay as much as we possibly can to each employee. He's right, there does need to be some sort of training wage, because if you have a new person coming into a company, who doesn't have the skill set, do you think it's fair, and I'm not being conversational, let's ask me a question, sorry. It's not fair for somebody who's brand new on the job, you know, maybe just came into the workforce, to make the same amount as an employee that I've had for 10 or 15 years. And I have employees in the company that have worked there that long. You know, we cherish our employees. What you have to, second thing you have to understand is, if we raise the minimum wage, we're gonna raise the price of the goods. It's just business. You know, the Happy Meal that you're, I know.
No. I
Yeah.
heard that, I know.
Okay, the Happy Meal that you're paying for is gonna cost you more.
But I choose
Because-
that.
Yeah, but there's some people on a fixed income, seniors, who can't choose that. They have a fixed income, they're not able to choose that higher wage, and it's gonna raise for
You
everyone
don't
else.
make families strong if you don't have living wages. And
Are
you're-
there-
Well,
ma'am.
we're trying.
Okay.
We're, you know, businesses, we want small businesses. We have to have small business to sustain the community. That's a fact. But understand that when we do raise minimum wage, there are consequences, and that is that the cost of goods sold goes up. It's simple business 101. And we, like I said, first of all, we would love to pay everyone as much as you can. Can the wage be a little higher, you know, to minimize profit? To be honest, the last 8 years, there wasn't a lot of profit in our small businesses.
And our
That's
rates
why
go
you
up?
see the empty stores and the facades and open
Our rates
storefronts.
go up for electricity.
Are there any
utilities.
other questions? Yes.
All right.
Your name?
My name is Diane Allen, I'm from White Salmon, and as you know, there's growing inequity in the state of Washington as well as the whole country, and the rich are getting richer, the poor getting poorer. How would your position deal with this, if you indeed see it as a problem?
Why don't you start this time, Gina?
I think one of the things that I'm hoping to do, and might not be very popular, but I'm German, my maiden name's Maassprecher, we have no problem saying no. And that is that big corporations are often given tax incentives or other incentives to come into the area, and I think that's great. I think they should do that. But once you're sustainable, that should go away. Because if you keep giving those incentives, that's when you're creating that richer, because they're still getting a discount, but they're making more money. So I think one of the ways is just to make sure that after the business is sustainable and it's done its job in the community, and we've helped it get there. New York is no taxes. 10 years to move into New York for businesses. It's booming. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But those dollars of those new businesses, even if it's not in the form of taxes, is gonna come because the people who are getting wages are going out and spending that money in the community. And it's gonna boost small business. So it's a good thing for us to watch, and one of the ways I'm gonna do that is to make sure that those incentives that we give initially go away once the business is sustainable. So it's a great question, and I appreciate the question. Thank you.
That was a very good answer. I don't know if you noticed with Microsoft, they just opened up a data farm over in Iowa, Des Moines. And what happens is the 50 states are kind of underbidding each other in these, you know, tax break markets. And so you kind of have to walk a balance. I mean, because if you're going to say, no, we're going to not give you any tax breaks, they're going to go to another state. And that happens, and then we miss out on all those jobs. So I think that is a good approach, that you have to give the breaks at some point and then close it. You know, we don't want to lose any more businesses. But also the other thing is that even with minimum wage and so forth, a lot of the small businesses are going away, the mom and pops. I mean, you see these big chain stores. You know, what about the regular businesses, the people that run small businesses? In my opinion, they're vanishing. You can't hang with the big guys who get all these tax breaks. And so, you know, whether it's vacuum cleaners, whatever the business is, grocery stores, what have you, it's very hard to compete. And so if we have this hardline approach, you're gonna pay this much, you're not gonna get any tax breaks. It's the big ones that survive and the mom and pops disappear, unfortunately. So we have to be smart about that and always think about it. Thanks.
We have time for one more question that pertains to state government, if there is one. And I'm going to ask you to keep your comments brief. Yes,
My
Peter.
name is Peter Knowles. I live here in White Salmon. And Scott,
Yes.
I don't think I heard which position you're running for. So when you answer, could you
Sure.
reinforce that? And you mentioned the McCleary decision dealing with education.
Yes, sir.
And I know that you've spoken about education as well. I'd like to hear some specific ideas from you about how you would approach the issues of funding education under the McCleary decision in the coming 2-year budget.
Good question. Scott?
All right, I'll be brief on that. Michael Scott Brumback, Position 1, 14th Legislative District, and Norm Johnson is my opponent. On the McCleary decision, the Supreme Court, I think, is running interference for the legislature that doesn't have the guts to tell you they're gonna raise your taxes. That's honestly my opinion on what they're doing. I think that a lot of folks on the edge are gonna be pushed out because we're all focused on education. And we're gonna have to, if you look at like Medicaid or crime victims, all the things that affect poor people, you never hear about that. But everybody wants education, fully funded. Well, yeah, we can fully fund it, but what does that mean? All the bells and whistles or just a core education? I believe in the basics of education. I also believe in trade schools. You know, I told my daughter who's in college, don't get a worthless degree. This is not an academic exercise. You need to serve an economic benefit to yourself and the economy. You know, and there are a lot of degrees out there. People just think they got to go to college to be somebody. That's not true. I believe in trade schools. I think we have a lot of things to refocus on to make sure that we address education properly. Thanks.
So that's a great question, and we get that on the trail, I can guarantee the entire way. First of all, he's right, you have to define fully fund so we know what we're going into. Two, we know there's not enough money. Seems like there's never enough money when you look at the budget and everybody's trying to scramble for those dollars. You know, specifically, probably I would do the unpopular thing, and if you're on an L&I case, make sure you're really deserving of the L&I. You'd find money in there. So in welfare reform, I think we need to look at that. I think there's some people who are able to work that maybe are choosing not to. Disabilities, if you need it, you should be on it. I think it's a great program, and I have friends and family who are on it. But I think if you do not meet the criteria and you're on it, you should get off of it, because there's extra money in there for somebody who really deserves it. So I think we need to go back into a lot of different programs and look for the government rates, the programs. There's how many, you have the statistics. What are the numbers on the government programs past and present? Yeah, it's just incredible. The amount, if you look at the government, and I don't have the exact right, I would quote it, but if you have the amount of government agencies we had 10 or 15 or 20 years ago versus today, it's ridiculous. And their agencies, I don't even know what they do. So I think what I would go back and try to figure out what they do and make sure that it has a good ROI.
Can I ask
Return on
just a
investment.
clarifying question, because I didn't understand one point you made.
Yes.
Are you saying that the funding for education is going to come from savings in L&I and workers' comp and little piles that are not being tapped yet? Is that
I'm not sure that they're little,
okay?
to be honest. I think if we
Okay.
go back in and we research it and we figure out that everybody who's on different government programs is eligible for those programs. I mean, I'm a coach, I've coached 20 years. And 10 years ago, the kids were, I'm going to college, I'm gonna be a plumber, I'm gonna be an auto mechanic. Now, they're saying, my parents are on the system, I'm going on the system. And it's really disheartening as a coach to see that generation choosing that path rather than working hard, because that's what we did.
Thank you.
Good question.
These people who put their name on a ballot so that you have choices.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry to keep it short, but we have many, many candidates here tonight. Next, I'd like the 3 uncontested candidates for the auditor position, the clerk position, and the treasurer position. All 3 of you kind of come up. They've all agreed not to take questions tonight. These people will be elected. Their offices are in a courthouse, way up there in Goldendale. So you'll be able to find them in their places and ask them there. And so I think we'll start with the auditor.
Oh, okay.
Let's go alphabet.
Good evening. Thanks everybody for coming. Thank you for hosting this event, Chamber's Optimist. I'm Brenda Sorensen. I've been your county auditor for the last 8 years. It's been a joy and a pleasure, and you know, not going to take a lot of time tonight. I'll touch on some of the things that have happened since the last campaign. If you have questions, I am more than happy to address them, either at work or call me at home, come see me, I don't care. I work for you. We have put our county code, the local laws that the commissioners pass ordinances on, made them available online. We've implemented a new recording system, and a lot of our digital documents, that anything recorded digitally is available online. We've expanded the veterans program. There's a veteran service officer here on Fridays and in Goldendale on Wednesdays.
for anyone that needs help with the veterans, and that's in cooperation with the county commissioners. That wasn't something I could do on my own. It was a joint venture. We've increased our certified licensing operators in the office. We've offered a simplified method for the special districts to get their bills paid in a more timely fashion than monthly. We have installed 3 additional remote ballot boxes with HAVA money. Klickitat, Wishram, and Roosevelt, we increased the size of this one and relocated that to Klickitat. And our ballots will be mailed Friday. So expect to see those. Some of you may have already received your voter guide. They should be mailed, have been mailed yesterday. I got an email yesterday saying, hey, we're gonna mail them. It was in my box last Saturday, so I'm not sure they're a little mixed up, but that's okay. We extended our office hours last year. We're open 8:30 to 4:30 for licensing, 5 for all other business. We were opening at 9. We've had unqualified elections and licensing reviews. Hopefully this year's financial and accountability audit will go well. And we're continuing to cross-training staff. Again, I'm unopposed. Thank you for your trust, and please see me if you have questions.
Renee Campbell.
Good evening. I'm Renee Campbell. I'm your current elected Klickitat County Clerk seeking re-election, and as indicated, I'm unopposed. And I'm happy that my husband came with me tonight to help drive home, so that's always good to have. A little history about myself. I was raised in Glenwood, just up the road here. I graduated with honors from high school there, went on to Walla Walla Community College where I got a 2-year degree. From there, I started working at District Court in Goldendale in 1983. And I did that at the District Court as a deputy clerk until 1989 when I was promoted to court administrator position. And which, in that position, I managed the day-to-day operations of the court and had 3 employees underneath me. Also during that time, as when I worked at District Court, I took an exam called the non-judicial qualifying exam. And with that, I passed that exam, I was sworn in, and so then I served over, presided on the bench under the direction of the presiding judge. So that was quite an honor to be able to do that, something I really enjoyed. So in the spring of 2013, I was appointed to fill Sandra Olson's position. She retired, and I was the lucky one chosen to take that position. I'm enjoying that position immensely. The responsibilities of the clerk are very clear as outlined in the statutes, and what I feel like I bring to the office is the experience to implement the procedures while maximizing the talents and abilities of my current staff. I have worked to give the required procedures the consistency needed to be effective in meeting the requirements that I'm required to meet. I'm looking forward to another 4 years as your Klickitat County Clerk, and if there's any questions you might have of me, I'm available as always, and thanks to the Mount Adams Chamber of Commerce and Mr. Optimus for putting this together. It's a huge effort, and we all appreciate it.
Greg?
Thank you. And thanks for putting this event on. I have some familiar faces and some new faces that I see out there. I'm Greg Gallagher, and I'm running for Klickitat County Treasurer. I'd like to put my knowledge and my background to work for my community. I have a bachelor's from Central Washington University. I grew up in Goldendale, and I enjoy Klickitat County. I moved away for a little while, and I really enjoy what the county has to offer. I've had various positions at different public and private organizations in telecom, and then I worked at the PUD. I'm currently working in the Treasurer's office, developing an overall comprehensive of the office flow. Once elected, I'll work with the departments, elected officials, and the commissioners to work together to find positive solutions to the challenges that we face. I too am available if anybody has any questions, would like to talk to me, please let me know. Other than that, I appreciate your support, and I encourage everybody to vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for making the drive down here. If you'd like to take a seat, would the candidates for District Court Judge and for the PUD please come up? These are nonpartisan positions. Neither Democrat or Republican. There you go. Once you and Sherry sit at the same table, and I think that only one of our judge candidates is here tonight. And so we'll start with him.
Hi, I'm Jeff Baker, and I'm running for West District Court Judge. Normally when I give this speech, I say bad things about Bob Weisfield, but he's here tonight. So, he's done a great job. He's had that job for 36 years, right? And so I always like to point out to people, 36 years ago, I was a junior in high school. And Vicky's here as clerk as well, so I have to, my speech is going to be really short. So. Other than, on the way down, my wife did tell me, if you're going to try and be funny, make sure you're actually funny. Which is surprising, I don't ever hear that from her. I live in Trout Lake, I've lived there for the last 20 years. I've been a lawyer for 27 years. I've served as a pro tem judge in West District Court and East District Court in Goldendale, in Superior Court, and also in, as a pro tem judge down in Skamania County District Court. I'm a court-appointed arbitrator in Oregon, and in that capacity I've served as a court-appointed arbitrator in about 80 civil cases. I've been a lawyer for 27 years. I've been honored to receive the endorsement from 25 lawyers in the community. That's basically most of the lawyers that practice in Clickitat County courts. I'm honored to receive the endorsement from Judge Weisfield, as well as retired Judge Reynolds and Judge Rainier. I'd like to say that there's nothing for me to do. The court's being run so well, there's nothing that's going to happen, and I'll just try and not get in anyone's way. But that's not really the truth. The truth is we have some challenges, and one challenge that we have that's coming very quickly is how we're going to deal with the issue of detecting and dealing with impaired drivers who are impaired by marijuana. Right now, we're at a point with marijuana where we were with alcohol in the 70s. We don't really have as good a mechanism as we need to be able to reliably tell if someone's impaired at the time that they're driving. And law enforcement and the prosecutors and the defense lawyers all need to have some guidelines to understand this issue. And it's an important issue, and it's going to be something we're going to deal with, and it's actually going to come right down to district court. And so I'd like to think that having the support of the prosecutors, having the support of the defense lawyers, and other judges, that I'll be able to handle that issue and know that when I have to make decisions, that those decisions, people can be sure, are independent, impartial, and made fairly, and then I'll study the issues rigorously and make sure that I handle those matters appropriately. So, since it's just me tonight, and Kathleen said I can't talk that long, I'll sit down.
And for Dan, I have you first for the PUD position.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to have this discussion tonight. My name is Dan Gunkel. I am your current PUD commissioner from District 3, which is Goldendale and out east. I have served in this capacity for the last 23 and a half years, and I'm here this evening to ask for your consideration and your vote. Looking at my qualifications and my experiences, I've served for 23 and a half years on the Clickitat County PUD board. In addition to that, I served for 20 years on the executive board of Energy Northwest. 8 of those years, I served as the chairman of the Nuclear Oversight and Safety Committee. In addition to that, I have several courses on board member responsibilities and duties, as well as excellence in governance courses that I've taken along the way. I do believe in continuing education in a very rapidly changing electric utility business. A little bit about the high-level fiscal responsibility and accountability section that I'm charged with. In the 2010 time period, in 2011, the national economy suffered. At the same time, we had the integration of roughly 7,000 megawatts of wind energy into the electric grid here in the Northwest. Those two forces combined to cause a weak electric market, which in turn caused a weakened financial condition at the Klickitat County PUD. The board implemented sweeping restructuring and actions, including financial policies that we implemented. As a result of those strong actions, we're pleased to tell you that in 2013, Fitch affirmed our A rating. That's a very important milestone to maintain that healthy working relationship with the bond rating agencies, because it saves us a lot of money in interest rates over the years. I'm also pleased to tell you that your equity in your utility system is slightly over 50%. I know a lot of homeowners that would be ecstatic if they had a 50% equity in their home. On the subject of rates, going back to the mid-90s, the Bonneville Power Administration, from that point in time until now, has raised our wholesale electric rates by 75%. During that time period, Klickitat PUD has passed along only 23.5%. That delta has been made up by the income derived from several generation and transmission projects that the board and management has built over the last 15 years. The delta that we have left in all of your pockets is right at $25 million during that time period. Today, your rates are 14%, give or take, less than they would be otherwise. The board's commitment on rates going forward and our strategic plan is to have small incremental rate increases and to have rate stability over time. And we are well poised to deliver on that promise. We received some information today from one of the rating agencies with regard to the carbon taxes, cap and trade that are on their way that will benefit those that have renewable energy projects that are carbon free. Those that have carbon emitting generation sources will suffer because there will be taxes of one sort or another that hinder those. And it really doesn't matter which side of the fence we're on the climate change issue. The implications are already on the way. Thank you. In closing, I would like to say that I believe that my experience, qualifications, and leadership are key attributes for the job of Klickitat County PUD Commissioner. Thank you, and I look for your vote this election.
Sherry Carver.
Hi there, good evening. I'm Sherry Carver. I'm running for Klickitat PUD Commission, position number 3. I'd like to thank the Seroptimists and the Chamber. I'm very involved in the Chamber for putting this on tonight. This is wonderful. This has been a great journey, learning all about our Klickitat PUD, our renewable resources. And a lot of you have heard about my qualifications, but I will go on and say that I'm very versed in the renewable resources. Between my residential building career, the general contractor, and yes, I do know how to run all those power tools. They're a lot of fun. Sometimes I see my dentist and I think we have the same tools. But that and our property management experience, we have quite a few rentals, commercial and residential. And I've worked on the accounts payable and our IT person in our office in Goldendale. My husband's a chiropractor. We have that and naturopath in our office for the last 40 years. So those are my qualifications getting me here. When I decided to run, my slogan was focused on the future. I am concerned about the transparency that our PUD offers us and keeping our rates low. Washington State's average rate is 8.78 cents a kilowatt hour. That's the whole state. We are 8.2. That's a ½ cent difference. Wasco County is 3 cents less than Klickitat County. And I believe that the numbers show that their commissioners made more prudent decisions when they were investing our money. I want to talk to you about the U.S. Energy Administration. Here's some statistics that they put out. Coal-fired energy in Washington State is 1.6%. Hydroelectric is 80.2%. That is 1/4 of the nation's hydro
generation. And when you count all of the other renewable resources, our state produces 1/5 of all the power produced in the U.S. Nuclear in Washington is 7.2%, natural gas fired 2.5%, and our other renewable resources, which would include our windmills, our McNary Dam hydro generation, and the gas plant, makes up 8.1%. And when we talk about the state carbon dioxide, Washington State puts out 1.3% of all the carbon dioxide in the United States. So our statistics are very low. And why am I telling you this? I feel that we have a very large debt, a huge investment in our renewable resources. And I believe that through this debt, that our commissioners, they have not been very transparent. They were not very prudent in letting you know that this summer we lost $1.3 million in repairing a steam generator at our gas plant. They talked about the BPA increase, which is a $1 million increase, but they haven't talked about some of the errors that they've made. And so I feel that I'm very responsible, I'm very qualified for this job, and I will be transparent. I will make sure that you, those who own our PUD, know what we're doing. So I'm going to ask when you get your ballots, and they go off, I guess on Friday, to vote for me, Sherry Carver, for PUD Commissioner. Thank you.
We're going to take a couple of questions here. We're going to keep it rather short again. Are there any questions for the PUD commissioners? Sir, your name?
My name is Bob Hobbig. I live in White Salmon. And I have a question for Dan and for Sherry. For Dan, could you elaborate a little bit on the problems that Sherry referred to with the landfill gas plant? And